Okay, it is a Saturday. We've got weather to talk about again. I mean, it's hot again. The heat warning, excessive heat warning in effect for much of the Bay Area. This is the National Weather Service page out of Monterey, and they keep you updated on the watches and warnings on their front page. And you can see the excessive heat warning. And you also see areas, let's see if I can draw in here, you see areas along the coast that actually have they have fog at the coast. So temperatures in Pacifica and Half Moon Bay and Bodega Bay, pretty manageable. But if you go a couple miles to the east into the Santa Cruz Mountains or over the hill into Los Gatos, and your temperatures are rapidly into the upper 90s, low 100s. So what's happening this week and what happened last week and what's going to continue through the middle of this next week is this high pressure. It just keeps pulsing. It gets stronger, it gets a little weaker, it gets stronger, it gets a little weaker. But overall, the texture of this thing is it's a dominant ridge of high pressure. It's planted really close to the Bay Area and just not allowing for the marine layer to get deep and push inland. And that's where we are. So we have these really shallow marine layers. If you go to the coast, I was out yesterday in Santa Cruz, and the fog was just right down on the deck, and it burned off, but I mean, the visibility was really bad. We'll look at it again today, but the fog is, once that fog lifts, right, it's going to get inland, and that really doesn't want to happen until probably Thursday or Friday, and even then, it's going to stay real hot inland. We have, in the Bay Area, we're going to get a little break actually tomorrow in terms of, instead of 105 in Concord, like today, Concord tomorrow is going to be 100 degrees. And then it'll go back to 101. It's going to hover in there until Wednesday or Thursday. So our next break is, our next heat break in the Bay Area is going to be probably on Wednesday or Thursday of this coming week. And it's going to fluctuate. So what we've experienced is what we're going to continue to experience. And you can see the fog on the coast here, right? And it's, the thing to note with the fog is there's absolutely no way it can get inland because it's so shallow. And if you trace the coastal hills, you go, oh yeah, the coastal hills, and if you rough it out, they all average about 1,000 feet. So some are 2,000, 2,500, some are 800, 700, but let's average out 1,000 feet. The depth of that marine layer is below 1,000 feet. That's why it's not making it into even Nicasio at this point, which is sort of interesting. Usually Nicasio gets a good little flush because it's a coastal plain, right? And it gets a pretty good flush off of Point Reyes. So there you go. Don't see a lot of smoke though. That's good. Air quality, the other night I was looking at after the fireworks, I was blown away. I was using Purple Air, and I was blown away at how much the air quality took a hit, especially in the East Bay on 4th of July evening because of all the fireworks, all the particulate matter in the air. And particulate's what we worry about most. PM 2.5, it's the size of the particulate. And that stuff can get into your lung, cause infections very easily. And if you're compromised, even more so. But the air quality, if I had like asthma or something, I don't think I'd hang out where they're shooting fireworks. It just doesn't, I didn't realize, I did realize it, but I'd never really seen it quantified like that before. And so we'll talk about that some other time. But here we are now, current temperature let's see if I can get up a map here. We'll do this. Okay, so 100 degrees. That's up kind of just by Winters, Arbuckle, 100 degrees, winds are northeast. Right now, Sacramento is 97 degrees and it's 11 in the morning. So the whole valley is going to be just sweltering. Well, check out, oh goodness, look at that, 107 north of Chico. I think that's Red Bluff or Redding at 107 right now. 107 at 11 o'clock in the morning. That's where you go but up. So that's sort of, in my mind, the big story is the Inland Bay Valleys, because we're going to get this pulse of cool air, kind of like we did last night, kind of like we did this morning. The marine layer is close to the coast, so it has a bleed over effect into the rest of the bay and even into the East Bay Hills. It just modifies slightly the air temperature. But when you're in Sacramento with the Delta breeze cut off, or Red Bluff or Redding or Modesto, you're not getting anything. And it's so if you're starting at $1.07 in Red Bluff or Redding right now, where does it end, right? So it's going to probably, we'll take a look at it later on today, but I'll bet Redding and Red Bluff are, based on that, up to at least 112, 111. Whew. So we're at the beach now. Foggy, nice, pleasant, some swell. There's a little south swell running right now, which is coming out of the southern hemisphere, but you can see the fog is what I wanted to point out. This is Pleasure Point, and this is similar to what it was like yesterday, but even denser. So that's indicative of that high pressure, how strong it is. The fog is just trapped down at the water. And like I say, if you were to go, this is down on Pleasure Point area, if you've ever been down there, if you just start walking inland about a block, it's sunny. And you can even see the sun coming out on these folks, but the fog just hovering right at the beach. Okay, this is Watch Duty. I've introduced this website to you before. I love it only because right now we're looking at the fires that are currently burning. And when you see one, so if you see one like this means that gray and orange, that's a fire for sure, but it's a fire that is being contained rapidly, right? It's not a hot spot. This one, that's a pretty decent fire with, not size-wise, but decent in terms of, it doesn't have really much containment with it at this point. We can look around. Now, if you look at the state, we can look at the entire state of California. Where are the fires? You can see one down around San Luis Obispo, but kind of inland from there. The Lake Fire, 4,000 acres. It has 0 containments, updated 4 minutes ago. That's interesting. Figueroa Mountain. Yeah, that's a pretty good sized fire. Weather conditions aren't horrible in terms of wind, and that's the key to all these fires. Like for instance, this fire has very little wind on it because it's so hot and dry, but the heat and the low humidities and terrain are driving this fire. But when you see wind on a fire like this, especially in that area, which there's not forecast to be a lot of wind, that's pretty scary because these things, a fire like that could explode with any kind of wind on it. So you see these fires in the foothills, maybe some for fireworks, but it's not bad. I mean, I've seen 4th of July or 6th of July fire maps that look much worse. So you can see some of the fires. We'll take a look at this one. This is a shearing fire. It is updated a long time ago. It's got good containment on it. Let's see if we can get a picture of it. And that's the shearing fire. And you can see how the smoke plume and it's not laying down, so it's not super windy. So the story, I mean, right now is just hunker down, take it slow, just don't rush, man, and don't stress out. Just drink water. If you can avoid commuting, try to avoid commuting. You know what to do. And pay attention to the pets. I saw some lady running the other day with her dog, kind of like I think it was San Jose, and it's like on the sidewalk in the hot heat. And it was only 90 degrees, but where that little pooch was, it was probably about 110, 115 degrees on the pavement. And that's, I mean, it's not good. I know people don't mean to do that, but I think people forget how hard this is on dogs. Okay, so what we have here, I think you can see, let me draw my little square again. Can I find my little square? Oh, there it is. Okay. You'd think, right? Okay, so this area right here, that's kind of us. And this is right now. And what I'm going to show you is, it'll fade out, but keep your eye on that spot. So there, boom. This is this afternoon, another hot day. Look at the bright white. Look at that buck 18. This is forecast temperatures, but 118 up around Redding. 118, geez. 120 in Chico. This is a forecast model, but that's, wow. I mean, it's a model. buck 20, but if it's you're 107 already up in the North Valley. You could get that hot. Wow. We'll see. That's flirting with record high temperatures. And then we go again, right? So now we're into Sunday. Same thing, 114. And I mean, you're in Redding and you don't have air conditioning, 108. A little cooler on Tuesday, but still, you see that white that keeps pulsing up every 24 hours right there? Now, what you will notice here, and this is primarily what I wanted to point out yet again, which I always do, but that's us. And you see that little curvature of the isotherms, temperature, colors represent, and you see that yellow intruding into the Bay region. We are so fortunate that we have that gap at the Golden Gate Bridge because it's keeping, if you didn't have that gap at the bridge, that sea level gap, the Golden Gate, the cool air wouldn't even be able to get in, but we're getting a pretty good push of cool air and that helps a ton. So hunker down, it's changing, but it's really around Wednesday, Thursday of next week. The Central Valley, it's a big deal. So be careful if you live out there. I have a lot of friends I grew up in Butte County, so up in Paradise, right? Paradise doesn't get that hot, it's a little higher, but down lower, down Chico, man, it bakes. And they're looking at, the models are forecasting a buck 15 to 120 degree temperatures in the next couple of days. Not getting any relief from the sea breeze, probably staying 90s in the overnight hours, right? So you're not getting much relief. So just fluids, take it easy. We'll get back to you tomorrow.